Jon Provost as Timmy, and, of course, Lassie.
Boy, I'll tell you, that music always moves me, you know? There's something so mournful and melancholy about that music.
Oh, melancholy. Oh, you got that in. Yeah. That was good.
I wasn't even trying to make a pun. That's the theme to Lassie, and our guest today is Jon Provost, who played the part of Timmy Martin on Lassie from 1957 to 1964. Jon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much.
You know, I want to start off going back before Lassie. Obviously, I can't go back too far because, you know, you weren't on the planet yet. But do you have any memories of working on The Country Girl with Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly?
You know, the first two movies, So Big, with Jane Wyman and Sterling Hayden, I was not quite 3. Second movie was The Country Girl with Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly, and, you know, she won the Academy Award that year, Best Actress. I do not remember a thing. I mean, well, okay, do you remember, and do your listeners, when they're 3 years old, 3.5, do they remember? No, we don't. But after that, I do remember, you know, all the other movies that I made, you know, Back from Eternity and, you know, Escapade in Japan. And I made 10 movies and actually some early live television before I started Lassie in 1957 when I was 7 years old.
Well, you know, in a way, it's like you have very, very expensive home movies.
Oh,
you know,
it's the best. I'll tell you. People always say that, and you know, when I look at old episodes of, you know, I have a son. He's 30 years old, and I have a daughter who is 28, and who is going to make me a very proud grandfather coming up soon.
Oh, congratulations!
I'm so happy about that. But you know, when I look at those old episodes, it's like my son. It's like I see him. I see him walking.
Right.
It's like it is. It's the best home movies you could have.
Why, Timmy, honey, what's the matter?
Nobody will listen to me.
I will.
You'll just use my imagination.
Your imagination? Supposing you let me be the judge of that.
Well, Lassie and I were out in the woods, and we found a little donkey. He's sick. That's what nobody will believe.
Timmy, is this little donkey like your snake and your dragon?
No, honest. He's real. I touched him. Lassie's there now, watching him. Please come see me, Nan Ellen.
Timmy, are you sure now?
I crossed my heart.
Well, in that case, we'd just better go investigate. And we'll see what we can do to help.
Come on, Nan Ellen.
All right. Oh, come on.
Okay. You know, there was only 3 networks. Okay.
Right.
You know, you didn't have DVRs. You couldn't record. You had to sit down with your family. You didn't have 4 televisions or 10 in your house. You had 1. You know, people sat down and they had to watch the shows. And it was a time. I mean, this was the beginning of television. It was, you know, the big studios, they were, you know, ranking down from, you know, making movies now to do this new television thing. And so everybody was, you know, flying, you know, by the seat of their pants. And the main thing was the people that produced the shows, that wrote the shows, that directed, they cared about content. You know, they were family shows. I mean, Timmy, you know, got in trouble, but he learned from his mistakes. He didn't talk back to his parents. You know, it was just a different time. And unfortunately, today, you can tell me, out of, you know, 250 channels, who makes a good family show?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
You know, and thank gosh that we have now, like MeTV and, you know, Antenna TV and Retro TV and stuff that are bringing back all of these shows. Lassie is still shown in over 50 countries.
Wow.
I have a website. It's just my name, jonprovost.com. And I get emails from all over South America, Asia, Europe, Eastern Europe. I mean, everywhere. And people are still watching and loving the shows. But I have not gotten a residual in over 40 years. So that's a different story.
Yeah. That's unfortunately a common story, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody. I mean, all my contemporaries, Stan and Barry Livingston from My Three Sons, or Jay North from Dennis the Menace, or, Ron Howard, even, well, of course, he's become an incredible guy, but
sure.
From his show, from the Andy Griffith Show, he doesn't get residuals. Nobody does. We don't get that. It wasn't in the contracts, and that's the way it was. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned about the show being on all these various different channels. So obviously, in 2014, there's a need for that type of programming, but it's a need that the networks don't seem to want to answer.
Well, they are more involved with, these, quote, unscripted reality shows, which we know is, not true.
Right.
And, they're just making a ton of money, and that's all they care about. And that's what I was saying earlier, was back in the day, the owners, they cared about content. They cared about what they were giving, the public. Today, sorry.
Yeah. When I interview actors from various television shows, I always ask them if they got along with their co-stars. Now, in your case, it's sort of a unique situation because your main co-star wasn't a human being, but did you get along with Lassie?
Oh, man, big time. Okay, when I went to work for 7 years, 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, I would show up at, around 7:30 in the morning, and there would be 35 adults, me, and 2 dogs. We had, a lot of people thought that we had more than one Lassie. No, it was not that way. We always had one Lassie because that's, Red Weatherwax said, that's the way it's going to be.
Right.
We did have a double dog that did swimming and fighting and, running over a hill and stuff like that. But there was always only one real dog. And, it was like a family. My mother was with me 99% of the time when I was working. When she couldn't be there, she had this little old lady, Mrs. Olson, that would come and, watch after me. But then, I had my school teacher, I had the social worker and stuff like that. And as far as the, drugs and stuff, no, there was none of, the guys drank and they smoked.
Right.
Other than that, that was it.
Yeah. And, maybe Lassie indulged herself in a little Purina or something. That would
yeah.
that'd be the extent of it.
No, oh, boy, I'll tell you, no. That dog never ate, I worked, in the 7 years, I worked with 3 different Lassies.
Uh-huh.
The last one I worked with for 5 years straight. And so, obviously, he was the one that I really bonded with, and I loved that dog, and he loved me. But no, those dogs never saw kibble or a canned thing in their life. It was, it was homemade food. It was cottage cheese. It was boiled beef. It was steamed vegetables. It was, the good food. And that's why every single Lassie had lived up to about 14 to 16 years old, which is very unique for a large breed dog.
Yeah.
They normally don't live that long, but it's because the way they were taken care of and fed.
Now, I know that after the show, you went on and continued working in films, sporting a very convincing Beatle-like haircut in the computer wore tennis shoes.
Right.
Is there anything you can tell me about working for Disney and working with Kurt Russell in that movie?
Oh, all the guys that, we did that was in 1968.
Right.
And, it was my only dealing with Disney. Kurt was great. Michael McGreevy, he was great, still a friend. All these people are still friends. And, no, it was a great show.
The computer wore tennis shoes and a twinkle in his eye. That turned on how tight, that out of sight, totally together, computer and tennis shoes.
After Lassie, I did 3 movies. The first one was This Property is Condemned, with Robert Redford and Natalie Wood, Charles Bronson, and it was a Tennessee Williams movie. We did it in the South, and it was great. And then after that, I did another movie, and then the last one was Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. And, I had just turned 18 years old, and I looked at myself and I said, you've been working 15 years. It's time for a break. Right. And so that's when I basically left the industry. Went to college. First time I had ever gone to public school. My entire educational career had been private tutors or private schools because you're working. You can't go to public school. And so when I went to college, that was the first time for public. And then I ended up moving to Northern California to follow my girlfriend from high school. And I'm still living up here and enjoying it. And like I said, raised a couple kids. And it's been great.
And you wrote a book as well.
Yes, my wife, Lori, and I, who we have just celebrated our 15th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
She is a Hollywood historian, and she's a writer and has written a lot of books about Hollywood. And we wrote my autobiography, Timmy's in the Well, kind of appropriate. And, and it starts from day one and goes all the way up to, a year ago. And it's mainly, it's not just Lassie, it's about everything. Right. But one thing, it's about my celebrity and how it affected a typical American family who were not Hollywood people. My father was from Alabama. My mom was from Texas. They weren't in the business. It just happened.
And I should mention that the book, Timmy's in the Well, I suppose one could go to Amazon, or can they get that from your website?
If they want an autographed copy, they can go to the website, jonprovost.com, or they can get it, from Amazon. Same thing. I
also want to mention that you make personal appearances, and you're making one fairly shortly in Wilmington, Massachusetts, the Pop Culture Expo.
Yes.
And that'll be the 25th and the 26th of May.
Oh, yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, they're having just a bunch of people like Mark Goddard, who was on Lost in Space, who, June Lockhart, she went from the farm to Lost in Space. Well, Mark's going to be there, and Parker Stevenson, who was on the Hardy Boys, and then went on to Baywatch.
Right.
And also, my wife will be there, and a bunch of other people.
Now, before I let you go here, because we're going to be running out of time in less than a minute, but I have to bust this myth. Apparently, Timmy was never in the well. Never happened. We don't know where that came from, that catchphrase, but everybody uses, Letterman, Leno, at least, once a month they would say something about that. Right.
We have not a clue. Timmy fell off cliffs. He went into abandoned mine shafts. He, fell into culverts. He did everything. But I never did fall in a well. We don't know. But it was just appropriate because everybody understands that and everybody says it to me.
Yeah. Well, Jon, I want to thank you so much for chatting with us. And everybody go and check them out at the Pop Culture Expo, Wilmington, Massachusetts, 25th and the 26th. And, Jon, you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you so much.